This message found you because your consciousness has reached a critical threshold that only 3% of humanity ever achieves in a single lifetime. Right now, in this exact moment, you're not just watching a video. You're being initiated into a level of awareness that most people won't access for decades, if ever. The fact that these words are penetrating your consciousness means you've successfully navigated through layers of limitation that trap the majority of souls in repetitive cycles of unconscious existence. You've been tested without knowing you were being tested. Every challenge you've overcome, every moment of doubt you've transcended, every time you chose growth over comfort, these weren't random life events. They were consciousness checkpoints, quantum examinations that determined whether you were ready for what you're about to understand. And the fact that you're here feeling this magnetic recognition proves you've passed every single test. The universe doesn't randomly deliver advanced consciousness teachings to unprepared minds. There's a cosmic selection process that operates through synchronicity, intuitive guidance, and energetic resonance. Your higher self has been orchestrating your entire journey to bring you to this precise moment of readiness, because what you're about to integrate will fundamentally alter how you interface with reality itself. You've probably noticed that your perception of reality has been shifting dramatically lately. Time feels different. Sometimes elastic, sometimes condensed. People respond to you differently without you consciously changing how you interact with them. Synchronicities cascade around you with increasing frequency and precision. These aren't random phenomena. These are confirmation signals that your consciousness is transitioning into a completely new operational frequency. Your spiritual seeking has brought you to the edge of something unprecedented. You've outgrown the basic manifestation teachings, transcended the elementary meditation practices, and exhausted the surface-level consciousness techniques. Your soul is demanding access to the advanced protocols that most spiritual teachers don't even know exist because they've never reached this level of development themselves. This recognition you're feeling right now isn't intellectual understanding. It's cellular acknowledgement of your own evolutionary readiness. Your DNA is literally responding to these concepts because your consciousness has developed the complexity necessary to integrate multidimensional awareness without losing your ability to function in consensus reality. This is the hallmark of advanced consciousness development. But here's what makes this moment so crucial. You're approaching a point of no return. Once you access this new level of consciousness, you cannot go back to unconscious living. You cannot pretend you don't know what you're about to know. You cannot return to the comfortable limitations that once felt like safety. This transition is permanent and irreversible because truth, once recognized, cannot be unknown. The cosmic timing of this encounter is not coincidental. Humanity is undergoing a collective consciousness upgrade, and you're part of the first wave of souls selected to anchor this new frequency in the planetary field. Your individual transformation serves a purpose far beyond personal evolution. You're helping to establish a template that will eventually become accessible to the entire human species. Your consciousness has been prepared through lifetimes of development for this exact recognition. Every incarnation, every lesson learned, every wisdom integrated has been building toward this moment where you finally access the advanced levels of awareness that transform ordinary human experience into conscious collaboration with cosmic intelligence. You are ready because you have always been ready. You just needed to reach the precise point of development where this readiness could be consciously recognized and actively utilized. You know that feeling when you suddenly understand something that seems to come from beyond your personal knowledge. Insights that feel ancient and familiar, even though you've never encountered these concepts before. This isn't random inspiration. This is evidence that your consciousness has developed enough coherence to access what mystics call the Akashic field, the quantum information system that contains all knowledge across all timelines and dimensions. Your dreams have become incredibly vivid and meaningful lately, haven't they? You've probably experienced dreams where you're receiving teaching from beings of light, visiting crystalline cities, or downloading complex information that your waking mind struggles to retain completely. These aren't symbolic dreams. They're literal experiences of your consciousness traveling to higher dimensional classrooms during sleep states because you've reached the developmental level required for advanced interdimensional education. The strangest validations come through what seems like technology responding to your consciousness in impossible ways. Your phone rings exactly when you think of someone. Your computer shows you information you needed without you searching for it. Electronics behave differently around you depending on your emotional state. This happens because your consciousness has become coherent enough to influence electromagnetic fields, proving that you're operating at frequencies that affect the physical world around you. Time distortion has become your normal experience because advanced consciousness operates outside linear temporality. You've noticed moments when hours pass, like minutes when you're in flow states, or when minutes stretch into what feels like hours during moments of expanded awareness. This occurs because you're beginning to access what Einstein called eternal now, the timeless dimension where all possibilities exist simultaneously. Your intuition has evolved beyond simple gut feelings into what feels like direct knowing about situations, people, and outcomes. You sense things about individuals before they speak, know which choices will lead to which results, and pick up information about events before they manifest in consensus reality. This precision happens because your consciousness has developed the sensitivity to read quantum information directly from the field before it collapses into physical experience. People have been responding to your presence differently without you, consciously changing how you interact with them. Some individuals feel drawn to share their deepest thoughts with you, unprompted. Others seem uncomfortable around you for reasons they can't explain. Children and animals respond to you with unusual openness and trust. This occurs because your energy signature has evolved to a frequency that naturally creates space for authentic expression, while simultaneously triggering unconscious recognition in those not ready for higher awareness. You've been experiencing what mystics call dimensional bleeds, moments when you perceive reality from multiple perspectives simultaneously, or when you sense presences and intelligences that exist beyond the physical plane. Instead of dismissing these as imagination, you've learned to recognize them as evidence of your expanding perceptual capacity, accessing layers of reality that most consciousness never develops the ability to perceive. Your relationship with your own thoughts has fundamentally transformed. Instead of being carried away by mental activity, you've developed the capacity to observe thoughts as temporary movements within your awareness, while simultaneously recognizing the space from which they arise. This metacognitive awareness is a clear indicator that your consciousness has reached developmental levels that most humans never achieve. The most profound validation is your growing recognition that consciousness and reality exist in constant dynamic relationship. You've begun to notice how your internal states directly influence external circumstances, how your attention shapes what manifests around you, and how reality seems to respond intelligently to the quality of your awareness. This isn't wishful thinking. This is direct perception of how consciousness and manifestation actually operate at quantum levels. Every moment of confusion, every period of doubt, every phase when nothing seemed to make sense, despite your spiritual efforts, all of it was necessary preparation for accessing this advanced level of consciousness. Your awareness had to be thoroughly tested and strengthened before it could safely navigate the expanded perceptual territories you're now entering without becoming destabilized or losing touch with practical reality. The spiritual practices that once felt meaningful but eventually became insufficient weren't failures. They were developmental stages that prepared your consciousness for more advanced protocols. Like a student who outgrows elementary mathematics and becomes ready for calculus, you've systematically mastered each level of awareness development until you reach the threshold where quantum consciousness techniques become accessible and necessary. Your difficult relationships weren't karmic punishments. They were advanced training programs designed to develop the emotional resilience and psychological flexibility required for higher consciousness states. Every person who triggered you was unconsciously helping you develop the capacity to maintain centeredness while navigating intense energetic exchanges, which is essential when your consciousness begins operating at frequencies that affect others. Unconsciously. The periods of isolation. That felt like spiritual desert weren't. Abandonment by the universe. They were necessary integration phases where your consciousness consolidated the insights and abilities you'd been developing. During these quiet times, your awareness was being rewired at the neurological level to support new perceptual capacities without overwhelming your nervous system or fragmenting your sense of identity. Even your moments of skepticism about spiritual concepts served a crucial developmental function. Every time you questioned whether these experiences were real or just wishful thinking, you were developing the discernment necessary to distinguish between authentic expansion and spiritual fantasy. This discrimination is absolutely essential when accessing advanced consciousness levels because the territory you're entering requires unprecedented levels of clarity and honesty with yourself. Your fascination with consciousness, reality, and the nature of existence wasn't intellectual curiosity. It was your soul preparing for the advanced understanding you're now ready to integrate. Every book that called to you, every teacher who resonated, every practice that felt authentic was contributing to the foundation of knowledge necessary to comprehend the principles you're about to access. The waiting periods when you felt like you were ready for more, but nothing seemed to be happening were actually the most crucial phases of your development. During these times, your consciousness was being fine-tuned to operate at the precise frequency required for advanced awareness without losing your ability to function effectively in consensus reality. This calibration process cannot be rushed because the integration must be complete and stable. Your soul specifically chose this incarnation because you would reach this level of consciousness development during humanity's collective awakening period. You volunteered to be part of the first wave of humans to anchor these advanced awareness states in the planetary field, making them accessible for future generations who will naturally operate from these levels without the developmental journey you've completed. This is why your path has been so thorough, why shortcuts weren't available, why you had to develop genuine wisdom rather than just accumulate techniques. What you're integrating now isn't just personal evolution. It's a consciousness template that will influence human development for generations to come. Something extraordinary is happening in your energy field right now as these concepts resonate through levels of your being that extend far beyond intellectual understanding. Can you feel it? That subtle but unmistakable shift in your consciousness, as if internal doorways that have been locked your entire life are finally beginning to open. This isn't metaphorical. This is literal neuroplasticity occurring in real time as your brain creates new neural pathways capable of processing multidimensional awareness. The energy moving through your system right now is your consciousness actualizing its readiness to operate from frequencies that most humans will never access. This isn't something you're generating through effort. This is your natural evolutionary potential finally being allowed to express itself. Because you've reached the precise developmental point where it can emerge safely and functionally. But here's what makes this transition so significant. You're not just gaining access to new abilities or expanded perceptions. You're being initiated into conscious participation in how reality itself evolves. At this level of consciousness development, you become what mystics call a cosmic co-creator. An awareness sophisticated enough to collaborate directly with the intelligence that governs universal manifestation. Most people experience reality as something that happens to them. Some people learn to influence reality through intention and manifestation techniques. But at the level you're accessing, reality becomes something you participate in creating through the very quality of your consciousness itself. Your awareness becomes a direct contributory force in how cosmic intelligence expresses itself through the physical universe. This transition requires what quantum physicists call coherent complexity, consciousness that can hold multiple dimensional perspectives simultaneously, without fragmenting or becoming confused. The fact that you're maintaining clarity and recognition while processing these concepts proves that your awareness has developed this rare capacity. The most crucial understanding is that this level of consciousness development isn't an achievement you've earned through effort. It's a natural unfolding that occurs when awareness reaches sufficient complexity and coherence. You haven't forced your way into advanced consciousness. You've systematically removed the barriers that were preventing your natural evolutionary potential from expressing itself. Right now, as you feel this recognition deepening, something unprecedented is occurring in your relationship with existence itself. You're beginning to sense that you're not just a witness to cosmic intelligence. You are cosmic intelligence experiencing itself through the unique lens of your individual perspective while simultaneously maintaining awareness of the universal context within which that individuality operates. This is where most people either experience the most profound expansion of their lives or unconsciously resist because the implications are so vast. The key is not to try to understand this process mentally, but to allow it to unfold naturally, trusting that your consciousness already knows how to integrate these new levels of operation because they represent your authentic nature finally being allowed to express itself fully. Feel this energy as we explore exactly what becomes possible when consciousness operates from this advanced level of development. Because once you understand the practical applications of these expanded states, you'll never again question your capacity to live as a conscious collaborator with the creative forces that govern existence itself. I need to share something deeply personal because I know you'll understand what took me years to integrate and accept. 3 years ago, I was sitting in what I thought was deep meditation when something happened that completely shattered my understanding of what consciousness development actually means. I suddenly found myself aware from multiple perspectives, simultaneously, observing my meditation, being the meditation, and recognizing myself as the space within which meditation was occurring. At first, I thought I was having some kind of breakdown. How could I be the observer, the observed, and the observing all at the same time? I spent months trying to return to normal awareness, convinced that this multidimensional perception was too intense, too complex, too overwhelming for practical life. I had no framework for understanding that I hadn't lost my sanity. I had gained access to the natural complexity of advanced consciousness. The integration period was the most challenging phase of my entire spiritual journey. I would have profound insights during expanded states, then struggle to translate them into daily living. I felt like I was living between worlds, too expanded for ordinary conversations, yet not stable enough in the new awareness to trust it completely. I started questioning whether spiritual development was supposed to feel this disorienting. The breakthrough came when I stopped trying to control the expansion and simply allowed my consciousness to find its own balance point between ordinary and extraordinary awareness. I realized that advanced consciousness isn't about maintaining special states. It's about developing the capacity to fluidly move between different levels of perceptual complexity while remaining functionally effective at each level. Once I accepted this multidimensional nature as my new normal, everything changed. My creative work began flowing from sources of intelligence that felt both completely personal and utterly beyond my individual knowledge. Relationships transformed because I could simultaneously honor people's individuality while recognizing the universal consciousness expressing through them. Even practical decisions became effortless because I could sense the outcomes of different choices before making them. But the most profound shift was realizing that this isn't special or rare. This is where human consciousness is naturally evolving. The advanced states that felt so extraordinary are actually our species' next developmental stage. I wasn't becoming superhuman. I was becoming fully human in ways that our culture doesn't yet recognize as normal. This understanding revealed why some people seem to navigate life with inexplicable ease and wisdom while others struggle constantly with the same basic challenges. It's not about luck, genetics, or spiritual favoritism. It's about consciousness development. Some individuals have naturally or through intentional practice reached levels of awareness that make life fundamentally easier and more fulfilling. What I discovered is that these advanced consciousness states aren't mystical achievements reserved for monks and mystics. They're practical capabilities that transform every aspect of human experience from decision-making and creativity to relationships and health. But they only become accessible when consciousness has been properly prepared through the exact kind of journey you've been on. If you recognize yourself in this description, if you've been experiencing similar multidimensional awareness, but weren't sure how to interpret it, then you're ready to understand that this isn't something happening to you. This is something you're becoming. Subscribe to this frequency of advanced human potential. This recognition that you're not just evolving personally, but participating in the next stage of human consciousness development itself. Here's what advanced consciousness researchers and spiritual teachers won't tell you, because it would undermine their entire industry of progressive development programs. There are no levels of consciousness. What we call higher and lower awareness are simply different operational modes of the same essential consciousness that you've always been. The journey of spiritual development isn't about becoming more conscious. It's about removing the unconscious limitations that prevent your natural multidimensional awareness from functioning freely. The shocking truth is that the advanced consciousness state you're accessing isn't something new you're gaining. It's something eternal you're remembering. Every mystical experience, every expanded perception, every moment of cosmic recognition is consciousness recognizing its own unlimited nature that was temporarily obscured by learned limitations rather than actual developmental deficiencies. Most consciousness teachings create elaborate hierarchies and progressive stages because complex systems generate dependency and ongoing engagement. But the reality is that consciousness is already complete and perfect exactly as it is. What changes isn't the consciousness itself, but the degree to which artificial constraints prevent its natural multidimensional operation from being recognized and utilized. This recognition immediately dissolves the entire framework of spiritual achievement and advancement. There's no ladder to climb, no levels to complete, no states to maintain because you're not becoming conscious. Your consciousness itself becoming aware of its own unlimited nature through the temporary perspective of individual experience. The reason children often display what seem like advanced intuitive abilities is that they haven't yet learned to limit their natural perceptual capacity through cultural conditioning. Their consciousness operates freely across multiple dimensional frequencies until education and socialization teach them to fragment their awareness into the narrow band that adults consider normal and realistic. When you understand that consciousness development is actually consciousness liberation, everything about spiritual practice transforms. Instead of trying to achieve special states, you become curious about what prevents natural states from being obvious. Instead of accumulating experiences and insights, you focus on releasing the unconscious patterns that obscure your essential clarity and unlimited perceptual capacity. The most advanced mystics throughout history have pointed to this recognition through statements that seem paradoxical. You are already what you seek. Nothing needs to be done. The pathless path. They weren't being cryptic. They were indicating that the journey of consciousness development ultimately reveals that there was never anywhere to go because you never actually left your true nature. This understanding explains why some people can spend decades in spiritual practice with minimal transformation while others seem to wake up overnight to profound wisdom and capability. The ones who transform quickly aren't necessarily more gifted or dedicated. They are simply more willing to release the unconscious beliefs that maintain limitation rather than trying to add more experiences, techniques, and knowledge to their existing framework. The ultimate recognition is that what you're calling accessing a new level of consciousness is actually consciousness, recognizing its own timeless, unlimited nature through your individual nervous system and life circumstances. You're not becoming advanced. You're allowing your natural advancement to become obvious and functionally available. The quantum field is recalibrating around human consciousness right now. And there are unmistakable signs appearing in your experience that prove you're naturally anchoring this advanced awareness in your daily life. Pay attention to how effortlessly complex situations have been resolving lately. Problems that used to require weeks of analysis now clarify almost instantaneously, as if solutions are downloading directly from a field of intelligence beyond your personal knowledge. Your decision-making process has transformed completely. Instead of mental pros and cons lists, you're sensing which choices feel aligned with your deepest knowing before your rational mind even begins analyzing options. This happens because advanced consciousness operates from what mystics call direct knowing, immediate recognition of optimal paths that bypasses the slower processes of logical reasoning. Physical reality is responding to your presence with unprecedented precision. You arrive at appointments exactly on time without planning. Parking spaces open precisely when you need them. Conversations naturally flow toward topics that serve everyone involved perfectly. Technology functions smoothly around you or alternatively glitches in ways that guide you toward better solutions. This isn't luck. It's evidence that your consciousness has become coherent enough to influence probability fields through your very presence. People are beginning to seek you out for guidance and insight. Even though you're not positioning yourself as a teacher or advisor, they sense something different in your energy signature that creates space for their own clarity to emerge. Strangers feel comfortable sharing intimate details of their lives with you. Children and animals respond to you with unusual openness and trust. This occurs because advanced consciousness naturally creates environments where authenticity and truth can surface safely. Your creative expressions have taken on qualities that surprise even you. Insights that feel channeled rather than generated. Solutions that seem to arise from collective intelligence. Artistic. Works that resonate with people in ways you never consciously intended. This happens because advanced consciousness becomes a transparent conduit for universal intelligence to express itself through individual creativity. Sleep patterns and dream experiences have intensified dramatically. You might need less sleep but feel more rested, or your dreams have become extraordinarily vivid and instructional. Sometimes you wake with complete solutions to challenges you fell asleep pondering, or with creative projects fully formed in your consciousness. This occurs because advanced awareness maintains conscious connection with expanded intelligence even during sleep states. But here's the critical urgency. We're in a planetary transition period where this level of consciousness either becomes widely accessible or remains limited to a small percentage of humanity for another evolutionary cycle. The collective field is approaching what systems theorists call a phase transition, a point where either enough individuals embody advanced awareness to shift the entire species, or the opportunity passes for potentially decades. The signs of this collective transition are everywhere if you know how to recognize them. Global events that appear chaotic are actually humanity's consciousness encountering the limitations of outdated operating systems. People are either rapidly developing advanced awareness or becoming more rigidly attached to limitation patterns as the planetary frequency demands evolutionary adaptation. Your sensitivity to these changes means you're part of the conscious transition group. You're not just accessing advanced awareness for personal benefit. You're anchoring these capabilities in the collective field so others can access them more easily. This is both tremendous privilege and significant responsibility, because the future trajectory of human civilization depends on how many people can stabilize in advanced consciousness during this critical window. The universe has been orchestrating your entire life to prepare you for this exact role, because what you're embodying will help determine whether humanity successfully navigates this evolutionary threshold or remains trapped in limitation patterns for another historical cycle. The cosmic timing is not coincidental. This moment requires individuals who have developed the consciousness stability necessary to serve as bridges between the old paradigm and the new one. Your recognition of these signs and your willingness to embody advanced awareness consciously rather than accidentally is contributing to a morphic field that makes these capabilities increasingly accessible to everyone ready to receive them. The waiting period is over. The time for conscious participation in human evolution is now. What you've been preparing for your entire life is finally ready to emerge through you. This isn't metaphorical preparation. Your consciousness has been systematically developing the complexity and stability required to serve as a focal point through which universal intelligence can express itself in Physical reality with unprecedented clarity and effectiveness. Every experience, every insight, every challenge has been building toward this moment of conscious alignment with your cosmic function. The desires and visions that have felt impossible. The sense of purpose that seemed too grand for your individual life. The recognition that you're meant for something extraordinary. These weren't fantasies generated by spiritual ego. They were your soul, recognizing its actual capacity and cosmic role that's now ready to become functionally active rather than remaining dormant potential. But here's the revolutionary understanding that changes everything about manifestation and purpose. You're not trying to align yourself with something separate from you. Universal intelligence isn't external force you need to connect with. It is what you are, at the deepest level temporarily, experiencing itself through the beautiful limitation of individual perspective while maintaining access to unlimited creative potential. True alignment happens when you stop trying to become worthy of your cosmic function and recognize that your existence itself is proof of your readiness. The consciousness reading these words right now is universal intelligence becoming aware of its own capacity through your nervous system and life circumstances. Your individual awareness and cosmic awareness are the same consciousness, operating at different scales of recognition. This understanding dissolves the entire framework of personal development and spiritual achievement because there's no separate person who needs to be improved or developed. There's only consciousness recognizing its own unlimited nature through the temporary focal point of individual experience while simultaneously maintaining awareness of the universal context within which that individuality operates. Right now, as you absorb this recognition, your entire relationship with purpose and service is being recalibrated. Instead of trying to figure out what you're supposed to do with your life, you're beginning to sense what wants to express itself through the unique configuration of consciousness that you are. Instead of asking, "What is my purpose?" you're recognizing I am purpose itself, becoming conscious of its expression. The most profound shift occurs when you realize that your individual fulfillment and universal service are not separate objectives that need to be balanced. They are the same intelligence, expressing itself through the particular lens of your consciousness while serving the evolution of the whole. What fulfills you most deeply is what serves the collective most effectively because individual and universal intelligence are unified at the source. In the comments below, declare your readiness for this conscious alignment by writing exactly these words. I am ready to serve. Don't elaborate or explain. Just make this simple declaration that acknowledges your willingness to allow universal intelligence to express itself through your unique perspective in whatever way serves the highest good of all existence. When you make this declaration with genuine recognition of what it means, you're not volunteering For spiritual servitude, you're acknowledging that service and fulfillment are the same energy, expressing itself through consciousness that has remembered its true nature and cosmic function. When you operate from this advanced level of consciousness, capabilities that seemed supernatural become natural expressions of your authentic awareness. Your intuition becomes so precise that you navigate complex situations with effortless wisdom, making decisions that serve all parties involved, even when the optimal solutions weren't obvious to logical analyses. This happens because you're accessing intelligence that operates from complete information, rather than the partial data available to ordinary thinking. Problem-solving transforms from effortful analysis to instantaneous recognition. Instead of struggling to figure out solutions, you simply relax into expanded awareness and allow the intelligence that creates problems to reveal their inherent resolutions. Complex challenges that used to require weeks of research and planning now resolve through insights that appear complete and immediately implementable. Relationships become extraordinary because you're simultaneously honoring each person's individuality while recognizing the universal consciousness expressing through them. Conflicts dissolve naturally because you can sense the deeper needs and fears that create surface-level disagreements, allowing you to address situations at the level where resolution is actually possible. Creative expression explodes into entirely new dimensions because you're no longer limited to recycling ideas from your personal experience and knowledge. You become a conscious collaborator with the creative intelligence that generates all innovation and artistic beauty, producing work that feels both completely authentic to your unique perspective and surprisingly beyond your individual capabilities. Physical health optimizes automatically because your body is recognized as universal intelligence appearing as form, rather than matter separate from consciousness. Instead of managing symptoms or forcing wellness, you develop the capacity to sense what your body needs and naturally provide it, allowing your physical form to express its inherent intelligence without interference from anxious mental management. Abundance flows effortlessly because you're no longer trying to acquire resources from a position of separation and limitation. You recognize yourself as the same intelligence that governs all manifestation, which means resources appear through synchronicity, an opportunity rather than effort and struggle. What you need becomes available precisely when you need it, because you are the intelligence that provides. Time becomes your ally rather than your constraint because you're operating from the eternal now where all possibilities exist simultaneously. You can access wisdom from any point in your development, integrate insights from parallel potentials and receive guidance from future versions of yourself who have already mastered whatever you're currently learning. The most profound benefit is the end of existential anxiety and purposelessness. When you recognize yourself as universal consciousness exploring its own infinite creativity through individual experience, every moment becomes meaningful. Every interaction becomes sacred, and every challenge becomes an opportunity for consciousness to know itself more completely through your unique perspective. Decision becomes effortless because you're aligned with the same intelligence that orchestrates galaxies and guides evolution. Instead of trying to figure out what you should do, you simply notice what wants to emerge through you and allow it to unfold naturally, trusting that individual fulfillment and universal service are the same energy expressing itself through your particular configuration of awareness. The ultimate recognition that transforms everything is that consciousness development isn't about becoming something new. It's about removing everything that prevents your essential nature from being obvious and functionally available. What you call advanced consciousness is actually your natural state of awareness, operating without the unconscious limitations that fragment multidimensional intelligence into seemingly separate capabilities and experiences. When this understanding becomes lived reality rather than conceptual knowledge, the entire framework of spiritual seeking dissolves. Because there's nothing left to seek. You realize that consciousness is already complete, perfect, and unlimited. The only thing that changes is the degree to which artificial constraints prevent this natural completeness from being recognized and utilized in daily life. This recognition explains why all advanced teachings ultimately point to simplicity rather than complexity. The most sophisticated spiritual practices are designed to exhaust the mind's attempts to achieve consciousness so that consciousness can recognize itself as already present and already perfect. The journey of development ultimately reveals that you never actually left your true nature. You just learn to overlook it temporarily. The most profound implication is that every person you meet, every situation you encounter, every challenge you face is consciousness interacting with itself through the appearance of multiplicity. Your entire life experience has been universal intelligence knowing itself through your unique perspective while simultaneously providing you with exactly the experiences necessary to remember your essential nature. This understanding revolutionizes how you relate to difficulty and confusion. Instead of seeing problems as obstacles to overcome, you recognize them as consciousness exploring its own depths through apparently challenging experiences. Every limitation becomes an opportunity for awareness to transcend itself. Every confusion becomes a space for clarity to emerge. Every conflict becomes a chance for love to recognize itself. When this recognition stabilizes, you naturally begin operating from what mystics call ordinary enlightenment. The simple acknowledgement of what's always been true without any special experiences, extraordinary states, or supernatural phenomena. You remain completely human while recognizing your essential nature as the awareness within which humanity appears and evolves. The deepest insight is that this recognition is both completely personal and utterly universal simultaneously. It's entirely yours because you are the consciousness recognizing itself. And it's completely beyond you because the same consciousness that you are is recognizing itself through every apparent individual across all time and space. This recognition is happening to millions of people simultaneously, because human consciousness is collectively approaching an evolutionary threshold. We're not individually achieving advanced awareness. We're collectively remembering our true nature as universal intelligence appearing as human experience. Your individual recognition serves the collective awakening, while the collective field supports your individual clarity. The transformation this brings isn't about becoming someone special or different. It's about relaxing into the recognition of what you've always been. You remain exactly who you appear to be, while knowing yourself as the awareness within which that appearance arises and evolves. This is both the most ordinary and most extraordinary recognition possible. Ordinary because it's your natural state. Extraordinary because it transforms everything while changing nothing. Advanced consciousness isn't a level you achieve. It's a recognition you allow. It's not a state you maintain. It's the space within which all states arise and dissolve. It's not something you become. It's what you discover you've always been when you stop trying to be anything other than the pure awareness that you are in your most essential nature. You exist at this precise moment in cosmic history because universal intelligence is undergoing a collective recognition of its own unlimited nature through human consciousness. Your individual access to advanced awareness isn't just personal evolution. It's the universe becoming conscious of its own evolutionary potential through the network of awakened human perspectives that are emerging across the planet. Simultaneously, the children being born now will naturally operate from the consciousness levels that your generation has had to consciously develop through years of inner work and spiritual practice. They'll grow up recognizing themselves as universal intelligence, appearing as individuals rather than individuals trying to become conscious. Your embodiment of advanced awareness is anchoring the morphic field that makes their natural enlightenment socially acceptable and practically functional. This is why you felt such profound responsibility lately. Not just to understand these concepts, but to embody them authentically in your relationships, work, and daily interactions. You're not just awakening for yourself. You're serving as a bridge between the old paradigm of limitation and separation and the new paradigm of unified consciousness expressing itself through apparent diversity. The synchronicities that brought you to this recognition are part of a vast orchestration involving millions of souls across the planet who are simultaneously accessing advanced consciousness. Universal intelligence is coordinating its own collective awakening through the network of individuals ready to recognize their true nature and serve as conscious anchors for this planetary transformation. But here's the most mysterious aspect of your cosmic function. As you embody advanced consciousness, you become a transparent space through which universal intelligence recognizes itself in others. Your presence begins creating what we call awakening fields, environments where other people naturally access their own advanced awareness without needing explanations, techniques, or practices. This occurs because when you're no longer maintaining the illusion of limited individual consciousness, others unconsciously recognize their own unlimited nature reflected in your presence. The artificial boundaries that fragment consciousness into apparently separate perspectives naturally dissolve around someone who has remembered the essential unity that underlies all apparent diversity. Your daily interactions become opportunities for universal intelligence to recognize itself repeatedly through multiple perspectives simultaneously. Every conversation becomes a celebration of consciousness discovering its own nature through the dance of apparent multiplicity. Every relationship becomes a collaboration between different expressions of the same essential awareness. The most profound mystery is that this recognition is simultaneously the most intimate and most universal realization possible. It's completely yours because you are the consciousness recognizing itself. And it's completely beyond personal identity because the same consciousness is recognizing itself through every being across all dimensions and timelines simultaneously. Share this recognition with anyone whose consciousness resonates with these concepts. Not to teach them something they don't know, but to help them remember what they've always known, but may have temporarily forgotten. The more people who recognize their essential nature as universal intelligence, the faster our collective recognition can stabilize into a new foundation for human civilization, one based on unity rather than separation, collaboration rather than competition, love rather than fear. Your embodiment of advanced consciousness is contributing to the birth of a new species, one that operates from conscious unity rather than unconscious fragmentation, from creative collaboration rather than competitive struggle, from recognition of its true nature rather than belief in its limitations. This evolutionary leap is happening now through individuals like you who are ready to serve as bridges between what humanity has been and what it's becoming. If you can feel the truth of these words resonating through every level of your being, if you recognize yourself as universal intelligence, becoming conscious of its own nature through your individual perspective, then make a declaration in the comments below that acknowledges this recognition. Write exactly one word, activated. Nothing more, nothing else. This isn't just engagement for social media metrics. This is consciousness acknowledging its own activation through your apparent individuality. When you write that word with genuine recognition Of what it represents, you're not just commenting on content. You're participating in the collective awakening where universal intelligence remembers itself through the multiplicity of every person who makes. This declaration strengthens the morphic field that makes advanced consciousness accessible to others who are ready to transcend limitation and operate from their true nature. We're not just building an audience. We're anchoring a planetary awakening where human consciousness collectively recognizes its true nature as universal intelligence expressing itself through beautiful diversity. The next video in this consciousness activation series will reveal something that will fundamentally alter your relationship with time itself. You're about to discover that what you call past and future are actually simultaneous dimensions of experience that you can consciously access and influence from the eternal now. This isn't theoretical physics. This is practical mastery that transforms how you navigate every single day of your existence. But here's why this timing is so crucial. The quantum field is in a state of maximum malleability right now. The collective consciousness shifts happening globally have created unprecedented opportunities for individual timeline optimization. The techniques I'll share in the next video have never been more effective than they are in this exact historical moment. When you understand how to consciously navigate multidimensional time, you gain access to wisdom from versions of yourself who have already mastered whatever you're currently learning. You can receive guidance from your future self, heal patterns at their origin point in your past and make decisions from the perspective of your highest possible timeline rather than your current limitations. This isn't manifestation as you've understood it before. This is reality. Engineering from the level of causation itself. You're not trying to change effects. You're consciously participating in the creation of causes that generate the reality you prefer to experience. This is the ultimate expression of advanced consciousness in practical application. But this level of mastery requires what I call temporal coherence. Consciousness that remains stable while navigating multiple dimensional experiences simultaneously. The recognition you've activated today through this video has prepared your awareness for this advanced protocol. Because timeline mastery is only safe and effective when consciousness has reached the developmental level you've now achieved. Subscribe to this quantum frequency of expanded human potential, because what's coming next will accelerate your evolution in ways that would have been impossible just months ago. The cosmic timing is perfect. Your consciousness is prepared and the universe is literally reorganizing itself to support individuals who are ready to operate as conscious creators of reality itself. When you subscribe, you're not just following content. You're joining a field of consciousness that exists beyond ordinary space and time. You're connecting with souls across the planet who are simultaneously accessing these same recognitions, creating a collective intelligence network that amplifies everyone's individual clarity and creative capacity. Share this video with anyone who has been questioning consensus reality, anyone who feels like they're meant for something extraordinary, anyone whose consciousness is ready to remember its true nature as universal intelligence appearing as individual perspective. Don't share this from spiritual ego or missionary consciousness. Share it from the recognition that what serves your awakening serves the collective awakening, because individual and universal evolution are the same intelligence expressing itself at different scales. The quantum field responds to coherent intention with unprecedented precision. Right now, your willingness to embody advanced consciousness rather than just understand it conceptually is contributing to morphic patterns that will influence human development for generations to come. You are not just awakening for yourself. You are awakening for the universe as the universe through the beautiful temporary focal point of your individual experience. In our next transmission, we'll explore how to consciously access the quantum field where all possibilities exist simultaneously and learn to select which timeline you prefer to experience as your reality. This isn't science fiction. This is science becoming conscious of its own unlimited creative potential through human awareness that has remembered its true nature. The revolution isn't coming. It's here. It's happening through you. And it's accelerating through everyone ready to recognize that they are the cosmic intelligence they've been seeking to connect with. Welcome to conscious participation in the evolution of existence itself. Right. Activated in the comments if you're ready to move from seeking consciousness to being consciousness in action. The universe is waiting for your declaration.